What's going on, Puck and Pod fans? We got a little side episode, some side content going here. We got some YouTube stuff going. Uh, Whenever we do these, it feels like a Fast and Furious, and we're like Hobbs and Shaw. That it's like we're produced by Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. So this is Puck and Pod presents Frank and Robbie tonight. We're going to talk a little NHL right now. Frankie, anything non-Leafs NHL playoffs? Go ahead.
How often do spinoffs work? Not too good. Not too often. So let's hope this spinoff has some positive results. How can obviously there's other playoff series going on. There's other hockey going on. Hard to really focus on that when there's so much intrigue going on with the Leafs and the Habs. But I think what I like so far is like the whole year I've never really been intrigued or haven't really been up to watching any American teams play, but sure enough, I find myself watching games every night, and there's a pretty good Game 7 going on right now with Vegas and Minnesota. Not which a lot of people really didn't see coming. I know of one guy who had Vegas winning in 7, so he's looking pretty good right now. But sorry, I meant Minnesota. Sorry, Minnesota winning in 7. But listen, I think what really makes me so invested in this is number one, I want to see upsets. I just playoffs is that time where anything can happen. And sure enough, like look in Minnesota, Vegas is coming to 7, potentially a Game 7 with Leafs and Habs, even though I don't want to think about it like that. But also, I want to see something I've never seen before, and I'm really getting closer to seeing that Final Four of Colorado and Boston or something like that in a Final Four. Like teams that you will probably never see this again is what's making me so interesting. And I gotta be honest with you, the other thing that not a lot of people are talking about that I'm so interested in is watching these teams and trying to figure out which one of these players of these teams is going to end up on Seattle. We got another team coming into the league next year. And I keep watching these games, and I'm saying to myself, I wonder what Seattle's going to look like. I wonder who from these teams, because they're most likely going to lose somebody decent. From these teams are going to end up on the Kraken. So that's kind of those are my storylines so far with round 1. And other than that, it's been some really good hockey.
Yeah, that's great.
That Panther Lightning series was great. And 4 overtimes, believe it or not, with the dud that we thought Carolina and Nashville was going to be, ended up going to 4 overtimes. NHL has given one of the, wiser clap for that series. So
that's some great perspective. I didn't even think about the Seattle stuff. That is going to be an interesting dynamic this offseason. We in the sports world have a hard time of changing our predictions, or it's almost like once you're in sports, once you have a take, doesn't matter any new information, you just ignore that, and your original take has to be the one. But I'm someone that likes to pivot. I think that's what successful people do. Are you pivoting on? I believe you had Carolina as the Stanley Cup champion. Has there anybody that's caught in your eye in this first round?
I'm not pivoting from Carolina because I think they needed a bit of a wake-up call, and Nashville gave them that. So who knows? Maybe they run on some adversity against Tampa, which can be a fantastic series. But I'm going to go back to the conversation that we had. I'm not surprised, but I'm also very intrigued by the team is Winnipeg. How can you not look at a team that in the series itself was okay for 4 games, but they went right through the Oilers like a hot knife through butter. And usually there's a Macho Man reference for that. Hot knife through butter, yeah. But thinking. But I think what really intrigues me about that team is when when somebody uses the phrase or the cliche, they're built for the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Winnipeg looks like they're built for the playoffs, and I think they've always had that mentality. I think they have obviously Hellebuck, the reigning Vezina winner. Okay, the defense is a little suspect, but they're playing team defense. But they have 4 or 5 guys, game breakers, that are heating up at the right time. It's more than I can say from Toronto because you're not getting that from Matthews. You're not getting that from Marner, getting a little bit from Nylander, but the top guys are performing like top guys on Winnipeg. And I think that's a team that I don't think it doesn't matter who they play. They're going to give somebody a series. And if by chance the Leafs get through, spoiler, I may not be picking the Leafs versus Winnipeg. So that's how strong I feel about the Jets. So that's one team I'm really keeping my eye on.
I kind of wish I had taken them as my dark horse. It was like I think I just was so bedazzled by the Leafs that I kind of forgot that Winnipeg is they are a dangerous team. I'm not a huge fan of their defense, but as I've said, they have the best coach in division. They have the best goaltender in division. Colorado, I mean, you want to talk about a hot knife through butter. That was, I don't even know what to say about them, but they look fantastic. Now, I'm still sitting on my heart stance of their Fugazi. What do you think about Colorado? Whoops.
The best one was, excuse me, Ryan O'Reilly. Well, we're going to beat him. At what? I ain't going to be at hockey. Play that much.
No.
But, oh, man, that was, and you know what's funny? The Kadri thing. This just goes to show you, like, the effect he had on Toronto media, social media, fans, and how let's put it this way. It probably rattled the room too. Like, he was a pretty big part of what they were trying to do. To Colorado, it was like, all right, Tyson Yost, you're playing second line center now. Soderberg, you're in now, which is your probably your ideal spot at third line center. It was like next guy up. They didn't miss a beat. That's the scary thing about them. And I've always said, I've been big on goaltending. Not a big Grubauer fan. Still not. I'm kind of trending in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, buddy, they're just. I'm Samuel Girard, as I mentioned. We talked about it before. He's probably one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. You can talk about Makar all you want, but Sam Girard, that guy I think is the straw that kind of turns the drink there in Colorado. So they are just it's like a locomotive, and I think even if Vegas gets past, I think they can steamroll them too.
I'm dying. I just want to see Vegas, Colorado. That would be I'll tune into every single game. I don't care what time it starts. I don't care if it's Hawaiian time. If they start at 8 o'clock Hawaiian time, I'm going to tune into that. You brought up Sammy Girard. I want to bring up another name because I heard it on the radio today. There are two guys that just don't get credit. Sammy Girard and the other guy's Jakub Slavin. Like they were talking about on the radio today, that just two guys that I guess because of their market. I was thinking about Stamkos is that, we'll never think of Stamkos as like a top 20 player of all time, I think, because of the market. So everybody that wants to play in small markets, we've seen from the Yankees that guys that play on the Yankees kind of get that elevated status. So anything else? I'll tell you what I saw in the playoffs. I've seen, I talked about poor body language and feeling bad for, let's say, like a Carey Price. I couldn't help but see McDavid and Draisaitl and think, man, like they look defeated. And I'm sitting here going, at what point does Connor kind of say, my talents are kind of being wasted out here? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh boy. First off, before we get on to that, I've maintained on this show many times, and I'll put my foot down on it again. Carolina has the best defense core in the NHL from 1 to 8. Okay? I'm serious. Like when Jake Gardiner is your number 7 or number 8, that's definitely not a bad defense core. You're bringing in guys. Brady, who forgot? Brady Shea is on that team. They made that deal with the Rangers last year. Pesci is fantastic. Like they even brought in a guy I think was from Anaheim, Hakanpää, whatever. He's fit seamlessly in there. And they got Jake Bean. Like they're gonna lose somebody.
Is Jake Bean even starting? Like that?
I think Jake Bean. I honestly think he might be the guy to go. And that's a scary thing because I think he's eligible for the expansion draft. So to boot, now they found their third string goalie is now their starter. Their prospect.
Nevichuk or something. No.
No, it's Nedeljkovic.
Nettie, we call him. We call
Yeah.
him Nettie in Carolina.
And then you have potential of losing Mrazek. It's like next guy up. Now they just save some salt and some cap room too, because Mrazek's going to want $4 or $5 million. So
Yeah.
it's found gold with that team, and I think they have the best coach going right now in Brind'Amour. So anyway, that's my rant on the Hurricanes. So you're talking about McDavid. If you're listening to his press conference, you try to make comparisons to what's going on in Buffalo with Eichel. First thing he got, he took the interview 101. First thing he came out and said, "Listen, I'm not going anywhere. I'm committed to this market. This is where we're here to do it. All this kind of stuff. But at some point, you got to give it another year or so and say, okay, I said all the right things. I've done all the right things. I've won a Hart Trophy. I've won Art Ross's. I've won the Lindsay Award. But you're not surrounding me with what I need to win here. And you know what? That shouldn't be his legacy. He shouldn't be the Dan Marino of the NHL. You know what I mean? Like, you can put up all the regular season records you want, but at some point Rob, you have to put yourself in the situation where say all the right things, you do all the right things, where the city can't turn its back on you. You know what I mean? Like, it just, if he does all the right things in context of it, and he finally says, "Listen, I can't do it here," would you blame him for wanting to leave and ask for a trade?
No, there's a guy that you probably know really well, Andrew Luck, that I've argued, you don't necessarily have to ask for a trade, but how many times, Frank, did after a game he came out and said, our offensive line is fine, they're doing their job, they're doing their best, and he almost never put pressure on management to be better. And I sat there and it's like, at some point you got to be like, no, we need help. And I think that's what Connor and Draisaitl need to kind of go to management and say, we're not going anywhere for the next year or two, but we need help, and you got to help us. The problem is they're going to have to find that help through the draft, because those two guys are going to be making $23 million, $24 million.
Well, yes, but also you go to management and say, "Listen, we got the best player on the planet right now. Probably two of the best players on the planet right now. Top whatever." So this is where a guy like Ken Holland says, "Listen, I've come into this team partly through a retooling, or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of guys here that I didn't bring in. In order for me to surround the guys with that Connor needs to win, one, we got to make tough decisions on players. So we're not getting Nugent Hopkins back. We're not taking Barry back. We're going to go to the market and find somebody that can play a second line center or first line left wing or whatever. Number two, contracts on this team that we don't want anymore. Give me the money. We're buying them out."
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. When you go to management, listen, these are my mistakes. And Ken Holland might be in the best position to say, this is not my mistake. I'm fixing mistakes that were done previously.
Right.
So, it's a process. It is. You can't let the best player in the world just whittle away in that. And Rob, Edmonton's a hockey market.
Yeah, for sure.
In Canada anyways.
But and this is why the hockey offseason sucks, is because guys never really demand. Actually, the Eichel thing is great. It's great content, but basically Connor and Draisaitl are going to put all of their faith and all of their eggs into the Kenny Holland basket. And now it's just, can he turn that team around? It's going to be an interesting story regardless. Any other things about the playoffs, NHL?
No, I think, after round one, it's been as advertised. Just keeping our focus on stories. I'm just looking for more stories to lead into round two, because we know after round one, it tends to start to kind of, decline in terms of interest. Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of I'm praying that the Leafs get through. So at least in this market, it stays relevant for the most part. And that's it. You're looking for star power. You're looking for matchups that have stories, but you also want to see star power. So, you look at the next round of series coming up. You got Boston and the Islanders. Ugh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, well, okay. Well, you got Barzell going up against Marchand.
Yeah.
Might not be tuning into that one. Carolina, Tampa. Okay, you got Kucherov, you got Stamkos.
I'll
On
watch
Carolina
that.
side, you got a little bit of Aho, but the teams itself are electric. So there's a pretty good chance I'm going to watch it. You know what I mean? So you keep going through that. Now, Colorado, Vegas, that's a must, right?
Oh, that's got sex appeal.
Colorado, Minnesota, you're
No,
just watching for Colorado. You know what
and
no, you're watching that game to see how much Colorado won by. You're not
yeah,
because you probably got that on your betting ticket in a parlay.
yeah,
You know
that's
what I
true.
mean?
That's
So
true.
yeah, that's what I'm looking at just from a casual standpoint.
Well, hopefully the playoffs they don't the NHL playoffs are like the one that it doesn't get any better going forward. So hopefully this isn't the best. We got fans coming in, the intensity's picking up with the fans. It's going to be interesting to see Montreal, how that city looks with only a tenth of the capacity of that stadium. But either way, if you like the content, you like the pod, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon.